Hey, Sunshine. Hey, Sunshine.
Hello, Miss Selena. How are you?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here on tonight. So if this is your first time, welcome. I'm Selena. This is Conversations with Selena, and I have a special guest on tonight that I'm going to introduce to you. First, I'm going to read her bio, and then we're just going to jump right on into what? Conversation. All right. All right. So now I've been tested, y'all. I've been tested. Her name is Miss Kathleen Franscona. Franscona. Tell it to me, girl.
Frascona.
Did I have it right the first time?
You did.
Dog. Franscona.
Thank you.
Y'all know I love to pronounce people's name correctly and spell them correctly. So I was over here practicing to make sure I got it right. But I love the lives because you get what you get. So there you go. You got it. But Miss Kathleen, I'm going to tell you what, I was drawn to her the first time that I read her testimony. And I am so honored that she's here with us on tonight. But she is not only a survivor, but a victor. Isn't that what we all are over here on Conversations with Selena? We are victorious. Miss Kathleen grew up in a life of conflict. And it began as a child and it continued through her early adulthood. This life of conflict is what propelled her into becoming a mediator, developmental coach, author, trainer, and keynote speaker. She is on a mission, y'all. She is on a mission to help individuals and businesses navigate through life, turning chaos into calm. Baby, I need you in my life because I got some chaos going on over here. But Kathleen uses her real world experience to guide, educate, and empower others into believing in their strengths, achieving their goals, resolve conflicts, and create the changes that are needed and wanted. She breathes life into her trainings and shares her personal story, allowing the participants to engage and active throughout. Kathleen once heard her son say, "My mother loved those that no one else wants to love." So I want to introduce to you Miss Kathleen, the author of Beautifully Broken. Welcome to Conversations with Selena, Miss Kathleen.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you. It was great meeting you in a group and learning about you and the things that you do and learning about the other women too that were there. But inviting me here, thank you. I feel so honored right now.
Thank you for accepting. I know we've been going back and forth, and you sent me a copy of the book, Beautifully Broken. And I must be honest, it took me quite a while to read it. Now, if y'all see the size of it, you're going to be like, now, Miss Sunshine, are you slow? Because what took you a long time to read this book? Well, it's the content of the book that was somewhat triggering to me. So the book triggered me in the very beginning. And so I had to put it to the side and pick it back up later. But I'm so glad that she shared it with me and I was able to read it before our live on tonight because I'm just like, wow. That's all I can say is wow. So how did you decide to write the book? We're going to start there. Like, I mean, this is hard to put it in black and white and even harder to put it out in the public in stores. I mean, there's one thing to journal in your private time, you know, on the notebook next to your bed, but to put it in black and white and to share it, tell me how did you get to that point? What happened that brought you to this point? I got to get it out there.
A lot of things that happened. I have been kicking it around for several years, and I think what really stopped me in the beginning was I going to embarrass my son about the things that I had gone through and the things that happened to me. And I honestly, I talk to him about everything. He knows. I don't keep it a secret. I don't keep it a secret from anyone. Obviously, now I really don't keep it a secret from anyone.
Right.
Um, but it was, I think a lot of it had to do with the Me Too movement and all these things coming out. And I saw the amount of people who were so concerned for celebrities and people who are way out there that we really don't know. And I'm like, do they know about their next door neighbor? Do they know what they've gone through? Do they have any idea? Because we could read everything in the news, well, not newspaper anymore, well, maybe, but online, and there's always something.
Yeah.
But do you take that much interest in your own family, in your neighbor, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your child's school, as you do with all these other things? And I've always said that as human beings, none of us have the corner market on pain. We don't. We have all had pain of some kind at one point or time or another in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never saying that mine is more painful than yours or people who are listening or watching us right now. We all have that different area. But I wanted to get out there because I wanted people to know that, you know what, check on your next door neighbor, check on your people at school, those kids, find out what's really going on in their lives. If you're going to be this invested in someone you don't know, that you spend no time with, invest in the people that are around you. And that's what I do. Working with the youth, working with businesses and other adults, I'm out there with them. And I was like, you know what? I can't go on being embarrassed or ashamed of what happened to me and how life turned out because I had two choices. I could turn out and be what was done to me, or I could create myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to create who I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a lot of time because I wasn't sure. There was a time in my life where I was angry with God. Like I could not understand why you would allow
Right.
this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I told you earlier, I'm human. I still don't understand.
Right.
But when people come to me and they just open up and start talking, or they read my book and they're like, how did you do this? How did you just put it out there? I go, because I want you to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be ashamed or humiliated by anything. And I think that's what people need to understand and realize. And opening up myself, I want other people to be able to open up too and have people really listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not just listen to listen, but listen to hear.
So, did you ever tell anybody?
I did not tell my mother until I was 22. And that was hard because when this happened when I was little, he threatened me that if I ever told anyone, that he would cut my tongue out and cut my mother's heart out. And as a child, all I could think about is protecting my mom and keeping it as quiet as I possibly could. So it wasn't until someone else came out and said something that she came to me at my work and asked me if anything happened that she should know about. And I looked at her, my eyes just got wide, like really wide. And I told her, and let's just say that she's a feisty little woman.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and it was hard. It was very hard to keep it inside and to not tell people. Oh wow. I don't think I really started talking about it until I was maybe 25. After I told my mom when I was 22, I still kept it down because I was still embarrassed, like it was somehow my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And
That guilt and shame goes with you.
it was. And as a 6-year-old, and I'm telling all of you out there who are listening, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. You didn't ask for it. You didn't want it. It is not your fault. So don't ever let them think or let them make you think it is your fault. Sorry, I have a little guy here that wants to beat up. I apologize. Okay. Oh, yeah. So I don't think I really started talking about it until I was 25, but it took me this long to write it
Mm-hmm.
because even though I had people telling me that you've been through so much, you're sharing with us, I still felt the humiliation and still felt shame. And it was awful. Sorry, I'm going to put him down real quick because he jumped on my lap.
Okay.
Get down. Okay. So
What's
yeah,
his name?
huh?
What's
His
his name?
Lord Atlas Cujo.
Oh wow, Lord Atlas Cujo.
Um, yeah, it was the Lord is it was a kind of a Christmas type joke that
Mm-hmm.
I bought that little plot of property in Scotland. So my son got one, my husband got one, I got one, so Atlas got one. So he's a Lord.
Yes, indeed.
So no, it did. It took me a long time, and it took me years after. I was afraid that I wouldn't get hired on jobs. I lots of things. I think I made up in my own mind a lot of the things that I was afraid about because in the grand scheme of things, I didn't have anything to be afraid of. I
I've been
survived.
told so long that fear was planted, like told that you were gonna die, your mom was gonna die,
Yep.
cutting your tongue out and her heart out and all this like just violent stuff that as a kid you can't help but to have it rooted and grounded all up in you. So I'm sure that was a process letting all of that go.
It was it, and I honestly I can tell you that there's still days that I struggle now, and I have to put on the music that got me through my book, that made me understand that I am a child of the one true King, and while I can't say that I understand why, but there is a reason behind everything. I don't always agree with it, but I'm here to help others because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do. And now I'm not so much afraid. It's still embarrassing sometimes. It is. But if anybody asks me a question, I will answer it. I don't have a problem with that because I want them to know that whatever you've gone through, we can get through it together.
And it's not your fault.
Nope. And it is not your fault. And please, everyone that's listening, just remember that it is not your fault. It is not your fault and never will be.
I say I went through a period last year that fear, like you're saying, sometimes
Mhm.
now you feel fear or you know, feel embarrassed and you have to go listen to the music that you got through your book with. I get that, like, because just not so long ago, I had this crazy amount of fear that I'm like, no, I'm used to the guilt and the shame
Mhm.
and even some level of fear, but it really gripped me last year. And so I don't know, you do the best that you can and you just look back over your life and it's like we were saying right before we went live, what did I do to deserve what I went through? Because it wasn't just with one person, it
Right.
wasn't just with two people. And so you really feel like damaged goods, I think is how I
Yes.
used to kind of refer myself.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't do that anymore. Like I am worthy. That's why I get on this live and I try to remind people that we are victorious. I try to remind people that you are enough. I try to remind people that you are worthy, you're beautiful, you're enough. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? You're healthy, you're wealthy, you're blessed, you're prosperous. Any word that I could come up with that is
Yes.
encouraging and uplifting because so often the things that we have been through, it changes our perspective. And then we start with this negative self-talk. We look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, well, we're not as pretty as this one. Well, God made you just who you are. And
Mhm.
when you get to comparing yourself, I'm sure it's insulting to him. Like, embrace who you are, embrace the body that you have, even your past, like accept that it happened,
Mhm.
but let's use that, like you said, to propel you into who you wanted to be, who you were destined to be.
Mhm. And
So
that's the way we should all do it. And it's hard. And I get it. I get it that it's hard. I get if people are like, oh, it's mumbo jumbo and just saying all this stuff. But no, you have to feed into yourself that positivity to overrule that negativity that's been put on your life, because you are worthy. Like you said, you are praised. Okay. And it needs to be, you need to have those words come out of your mouth, and you should not feel guilt. You should not feel shame. Okay. This has happened. Use what has happened to create better.
create better.
And
Use it.
that's what you can do. And if you may not make a difference in hundreds of thousands of people's lives, but if you make a difference in one person, and then that person makes a difference in a person, it all grows. It grows and expands, and it
Mhm,
becomes amazing. And then the stigmas are gone, and triggers will still be there, but they'll be less,
mhm.
because you have people you can fall back onto and listen to. And then they're going to listen to you as well. And they're going to give you that constructive, loving feedback that you need.
Mhm.
And I don't say coddle, because we can't coddle. Okay. There's a big difference with that. But we can care for and help guide people out of whatever darkness they're going through. And it just takes one human to another.
Wow. Well, I know that this book blessed me, and what you have become out of it has encouraged me, because when you start to look back over your life, okay, I'm going to start with the very first part before I say anything else. I was going to say, when you look back over your life and you see how you feel derailed, you
Mm-hmm.
feel set back, you feel so many different emotions, and other people don't understand it. You don't even understand it. You don't understand what you're feeling, what you're going through. You just know that you're easily angered. You know that you isolate yourself. There's so many things, and it's misread by other people as you're acting funny, or you think you're better than somebody, and they don't know you over there struggling.
That's
You
right.
over there struggling, just trying to get up and get yourself together for the day.
Because people don't ask.
No. And if they do, they don't ask to hear what you're saying, because I told my supervisor, I said, people just really don't listen. And
Mm-mm.
they try to out talk you, like you're trying to say stuff. I done got to where now, if I'm talking and you start talking, then I don't have anything else to say, because it's like I listen. And I told you, I haven't always been that person where everyone felt so comfortable talking to. But because now I have transitioned into this person who is embracing the past, who's embracing what has happened, and saying, you know what, I'm still going to make the best out of whatever the rest of the life that I have. I'm going to share my experiences, good or bad, with my children. So nobody can try to say, well, I'll tell your children, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to be their mama, regardless of whatever it is has happened, whatever it is that I did, whatever it is that I said, but I've already asked for their forgiveness for my behavior, because I was the screaming mama. I was, and some people be like, you, yes, and still will catch myself, like, okay, you can't parent them like that at this age anymore. But just because I was coming from a place of hurt, I was coming from a place of bitterness, I was coming from a place of unforgiveness, that I didn't even know how to channel those emotions. So then my children got the brunt of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that.
No. It's amazing, the people that we don't want to get the brunt of it usually do. And they are the first ones to throw their arms around your neck and say, it's okay, because I'm here for you. And it's amazing when it comes from your kids, because you don't mean to do that. You don't want to bring them into what we went through. And it comes out, and it does, because we're human. But when they hug you and they wrap their arms around your neck, it's going to be okay. You okay, hon? And they love you. And they love you, mama. So don't you ever forget that. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm talking too much. I'm gonna let you talk, because I'm sit over here and I'm gonna get all the feelings, because when it comes to my kids, it's almost like you said, they just get the hurt from your hurt. And I'm just thankful that I'm that parent that it doesn't pain me to say I'm sorry to them. It doesn't pain me to ask for forgiveness. And I do it over and over. I always ask them for, even after I yell, I call back and it's a routine. They're like, oh, here she goes. She's feeling guilty. She's going to apologize. But I do. I want them to know above all else, I still love them. Yes. And I understand what I put them through, but they also understand to a certain degree. Like, Mama, we get it. Mm-hmm. Just didn't know at the time. So I want them to, just understand that I wasn't just being a mean, angry, short-tempered, y'all in my way, Mama.
And the thing about it is, you have to understand something, is you're showing them just how strong you are. Because it takes a person, it's fine. You have to be strong to be able to apologize when you're wrong. Most people will brush it off or ignore the situation, or they'll do it even more. But when we do these things and we apologize, it's better. It is so much better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right, you were going to read a part. So what were you going to read? And then I will.
Let me see. I don't know. So it was the part that where you said, I wrote this for you. Mm-hmm. So to me, that part of it, even before I got started, made it personal to me. Like, the person who sits in the corner alone, that was me. The person who cries in the shower, that was me. The person who is terrified to speak, that was me. Like, they all accused me of being quiet because I was sneaky. I was quiet because, like, you don't even know what to say. That's right. You don't know you're afraid. Probably if you open up your mouth, you might just blurt it out and not even mean to. So you just sit quiet because that's what you were told to be, was quiet. Mm-hmm. And so the person in fear, I'm not going to read all of them, but I just really wanted to say, the person in the corner, the shower, terrified to speak, the person who feels the shame, the person who feels the fear. You wrote this for us. Yes. And, I don't know if you've seen this book, but I want you to get it. It's by another author that has come on here. Her name is Maya Scott. And then there's another one. I'm going to text it to you too. Maya Scott is The Blood Blocked It. That was her first book. And then, I see, baby girl. I have to text it to you. But Calissa Hinton, she also wrote a book. So I'll text those to you to get those.
Definitely.
But, yours and Maya's, to me, look doable. It's like, okay, if I sit down and I put my mind to it, I can start writing just a little bit, because my body and my mind have worked so hard to protect me that it's some stuff you remember bits and pieces. You know how in the movies they have the little flashbacks?
Yes.
So the other day I was talking to my friend and oh my God, I could remember like parts of my grandmother's house that those are good memories that I couldn't remember. And I could see them. I could see my uncle's room, and I could see how the bathroom and the heaters and all this kind of stuff was set up in the house. And it made my heart feel so happy, because God knows that I don't necessarily want to remember the bad stuff, but I do want to remember the good stuff. But in the process, it all gets wiped out in an attempt to protect,
Yes, it does. And you'll find every time you remember something good, you'll remember something that's not, because they kind of overlap. So like there was a part, I didn't even put it in the book, but like one of my good memories are my grandparents and spending some time with them. And they bought me a Hobby Holly sleeping bag as a kid. And they came to the house and I wasn't feeling too well. So my grandfather, being the grandfather he is, he peeled an apple and then he cut little bite-sized pieces and my throat hurt. So I would chew up the apple and just like get it mush before I could swallow it. And the person came out in front of them and said, "Oh, you're not fucking sick. You're just fine if you're eating an apple," you know. And that didn't settle my grandfather. So he told him to mind his business in a different way. But I didn't, when I was younger, I didn't get to spend as much time with them as I guess I'd wanted to. But as I got a little bit older, I would spend as many weekends as I could with them, even though the person was gone out of our life. So we didn't have to worry about that. But I still felt so safe to be with my grandparents. And even though I remember being safe with them, it brings back other parts of, you know, being over and doing things and them being around and him forcing me to eat a slimy, runny egg, where I have an issue with eating eggs to this day. I'll eat them, but they have to be cooked a certain way or I can't. But yeah, there's a lot of things. And I want people to know that even though those things have happened and they happened to us when we were younger, and sometimes, you know, we do things that make it continue, we can always do the things that make it easier for us to be able to understand that we didn't do it. And we are a good and strong and kind person. And with the good, sometimes comes the bad. And we don't want it to be that way, but that's how life is.
Yeah.
And realizing that putting together people who are broken, it's a mosaic. And mosaics are beautiful.
Beautiful.
And I'm okay being a little bit broken. And I don't mind it because it helps me to be who I am. It helps me to be vulnerable. It helps me to be able to answer those tough questions that people want to ask. And I'm like, ask any question and I will answer it. I will do my best to answer it. It might not be what you want to hear, but I'm going to answer. And I'm going to let you know that with the good comes those really good and strong memories. And the same thing happens with the bad. And sometimes the bad just laps over the good. But we can pull ourselves right back into those good. And we can be who we wanted to be out of all those good. And I wanted to be the person that helped others. And I wanted to be the other person that said, you know what, you can speak, talk, get it out, grow. And that's what I do. That's what I do now. And I want people to know that, you know what, you are not what has happened to you. You
pray that again for the people in the back.
You are not what has happened to you. You can be whomever and whatever you want to be. And you have a choice every minute of every day. And I remind myself of that a lot. Even on the days I have a rough day, I'm like, nope, not happening, because I know who I am. And I'm here to help. I'm here to love. I'm here to guide. I'm here to teach. And if teaching and loving and guiding has to go through what I've gone through in my life, fine. I'll bring it up again.
Well, what is one part of the book, since I brought out the first part, what's a part of the book, because you said you didn't put it in there about your grandparents, but if you had to share a part with the audience that's watching live in the replay, what part would you share from the book?
From the book.
The part that stopped me in my tracks was the first part. So I was just like, no, honey, we got to put this down for a little while.
There's so much. I mean,
there's so much in here.
It's like picking one part. So even though a lot of the things I've gone through was when I was younger, things also happened to me when I got older, because I realized, and I wrote this in the book, that I didn't know what love was like. I didn't know what real healthy love was supposed to be like. So if somebody told me that they loved me, we were going to be together forever, I was on cloud 9 because I didn't know it was a lie. I didn't know that it was just words. I didn't understand it. And people don't understand nowadays that how important words are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people say things all the time. You got your keyboard warriors, and they think that they're cool for saying things that are mean and cruel. You got people who lie about everything and then destroy you afterwards. Um, and I think realizing that from what happened to me as a child, a young child, followed me into my teenage years and my young adult years. I mean, it was even in my very early 20s where I still didn't make the right decision. And I wrote about it in a book about how I was with my fiance out in California, who I thought loved me. And his parents threatened to kill me, to dump my body in the California desert and no one would ever find me. And I got pregnant. And his mom would call harassing me. And one day he came to me and he said, maybe my mom's right. Maybe it is a mistake to have this baby. And it was shortly after that that I started bleeding and having a miscarriage. And then, to be totally honest, for years and years, I had nightmares of this little boy saying,
Mm-hmm.
Mommy, why did you let them kill me? You don't come away from that. And it made me question if I could ever be a good mom. Um, I'm fortunate now. I have a wonderful son. I do. But things happen. And when we don't have the right coping skills and the right training skills and the right love, we make wrong decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to realize that, again, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. And I left and I divorced because we did get married because I tried to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
If your gut tells you no, the answer is no. Don't try. Just don't. So, yeah, I think that would be one of the things because it doesn't just because what happened to me when I was younger, it did. It followed me because didn't have the right tools to know things.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an area for my book.
Whew. Um, and I think the tools are more plentiful now. Like before, no one really wanted to go to therapy. No one, people turned their nose up when it came to medication. No one tried the EMDR. Probably wasn't even such a thing back then, or the
No.
tapping or anything like that. So now there's so many different things that's available to us
Yes.
to help with the trauma, to help with the PTSD, to help with the depression. That's why we're here trying to get the message out. Like, don't keep it to yourself. When you internalize that stuff and don't speak on it, it kills you from the inside out. And, and it'll be just like your mind saying, why are you letting them, him, her, them, they kill our dreams? And if
Exactly.
you're careful, that's exactly what's going to happen. Like, you'll wither away and die. And I keep looking at that plant. It was two of them out in the front yard. And like last year, they were so pretty and green. And I believe they've outgrown that pot. So now the leaves are starting to turn brown and wither away. And that's what happens to us if we don't get fresh water,
Yeah.
expand ourselves,
And you know what? Good words are fertilizer. They can help you bloom. So don't ever forget that, no matter what has happened in your life. So when you start surrounding yourself with those people and the right words in the right area, you'll see what grows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So listen, I thought you were in Florida,
No.
but I know, right? I had that all messed up. So is there like coaching that you do that's virtual? I
Yes.
mean, it is virtual.
Mhm.
Your classes, they're virtual as well.
Yes, they are. Yes.
All right.
So I do coaching. I actually do a whole lot of conflict coaching too, where individuals don't want to do mediation, but they want to learn how to get through the conflict themselves. I do a lot of that virtually. I do a lot of coaching virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I also have a time where I put aside where when people need someone to just talk to. And I do that with a few businesses now. They actually have, they set it up where their team members can call me if they're having a rough day or a bad time, and we'll have a conversation because I'm out of that box and
Mm-hmm.
I'm impartial to what they're saying. So I can hear them and I can understand what they're going through. And then I can help them maybe look at a different perspective or think about a different way to handle whatever's happening to them. But yes, I do a lot of my coaching, a lot of my conflict coaching and such is all done online. I do travel. I've had places that have actually sent for me to come out. And I love doing that. um, but yes, so I both in person and virtual.
Mm-hmm. And I know I read your bio, but if this was, you know, how church service, they go around and you sing a song and you tell your testimony.
Mhm.
If you had to tell just your testimony, like this is it in a nutshell, that is an extension of the bio, because I did read the bio, but the bio is kind of like, you know, I'm here, I'm this is what I do, but just the testimony, like, because I know for me, my opening up, and I think I shared this with you, we're still getting to know one another,
Mhm.
but it started here, like live. And when I say that, I mean just being completely open about it, but layers at a time, because I can't just bloop. Girl, I would be probably set myself back before I even got started, you know, because if you're not careful with that information and how you share it and who you share it with, like you said, you're scared to even apply for a job because you think that they're going to be looking at you negatively, and you're like, is this why? Is this why this is happening? Did I get turned down for that? Did I not get invited to that because of, you know, the story that I'm sharing? So, you know, I find that just sharing my testimony, every time I share it, I become a little bit more freer and I add a little bit more detail. And I'm not going to say it's easy,
Mhm.
but it becomes a little bit easier because you're not being rejected. And it's because you're sharing it with people who, in most cases, have all been abused. It's just nobody talks about it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, well, this is not so bad. And you might even share with people who don't open up. But for those that do, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know you went through that. Because when I first opened up, it was like, whoo, this happened to me. Whoo, this happened to me. I was like, oh, Lord, I think I'm getting a little overwhelmed with the stories because I feel it. Like
Mhm.
when you're telling me your story, and I said, God, I don't know how much of this I could take, because my heart, I could feel my body reacting to their situation because I could relate. But it slowed down, you know, once it gets
Mhm.
kind of old, it slows down. And but you still find people who don't even know you sharing.
And that's a good thing when that happens
That is a really good thing when it
because
happens.
that's trust right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is trust.
And it
Um,
means you're on the right track. So
yes. I think if I had to just put it out there, it was said before, I'm not what has happened to me. I created something better out of that. And I created a me who is there to help others. And even though for years I was angry with God, I'm like, now after I meet people, I'm like, okay, could have wished it was been a different way, but I'm here to help. So no, I'm not what happened to me. I'm so much more than that. And I am so much better. And it has helped me to see people. It has helped me to hear them and to understand and to literally be able to tell people, yes, I do understand.
mm-hmm.
I completely do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I am not what happened to me. I'm so much more. So that's where I would go if I had to say something very quickly, I guess, out of
I
my
mean, it didn't
testimony.
have to be quick.
No,
Because listen, let me tell you something. You know, we done prayed and asked God just to lead and guide us in what to say. But a lot of like, I read your book and you know what's in the book, but I
yeah,
felt like, you know, the audience, whether it's live or the
mhm,
replay, may be a little like, what is she talking about? Like, not really knowing. I
okay,
mean, we can make assumptions of
right,
what happened, but we haven't like really dove into the fact that we're talking about molestation and rape, you know, and
yes,
things like that. Like, just to put it right out there that that's what it is. And
yes,
so I didn't want to say it. I was waiting, you know, I was going to let you say it.
okay,
And so, because I done already said mine over and over, and now I done got to where I no longer cringe and feel that guilt and shame. And I ain't gonna tell you I don't sometimes,
right.
because I was confronted not long ago about it. And when I tell you the worst feeling, it was not a good feeling. But you know, I keep getting counseling that says stand 10 toes down in your truth because it is your truth,
Mhm,
and you know, don't back down from it. And so once you put it out there, like you got it in black and white over here,
yes.
you just got to stand on it.
So I start out in the book, um, for those of you watching and those of you going to watch the replay. And one of the first things I say is, I've been abused. And there I said it. Just saying I've been abused took me years to say. And sometimes it doesn't even sound like the right word,
Mm-hmm.
because being a 6-year-old, being beaten, molested, and raped by someone who's supposed to be protecting you, you don't see life like all the other 6-year-olds do.
Mm-hmm.
And even to this day, I feel like my childhood was taken away from me. I didn't know what it was like to be a kid. And if I did, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hard part. I sit there and look at it, and I have memories. I have memories of my grandparents. And I see pictures like I went to Disney World. I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and going through that in such a young age, you don't know who to trust. So with that, you start thinking you can trust everybody. That tells you how much they love you and they're going to be there for you. And that's because you were never given the skills to know what real true love was supposed to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's bad. It is bad when it comes from anybody. And it's also worse when it comes from those who are supposed to be taking care of you and helping you grow. So I, growing up, I had to grow. I had to try and take care of myself and figure it all out, because back when this started, back when this happened, we didn't talk about it. It was
Mm-hmm.
a taboo. You were supposed to be shamed, even if you were a child. And I think that's another reason that it took me so long to get myself to understand that I don't have any reason to be ashamed. I shouldn't feel guilty. I shouldn't be humiliated. I didn't do it. I was the one who was abused.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to live that way for the rest of my life. I didn't want to live in that feeling. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be that person that abused anybody, because they always say that a child in conflict grows up to an adult in conflict who raises children in conflict. It's a circle and it's a vicious cycle. And I had two choices. I could be that person, or I could become who I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be that person because I did not want to raise a child in that kind of environment. I broke it. So when people say, oh, well, well, my dad did this or my mom did this, or, okay, you know it's wrong. You can stop it. You can break that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's your choice.
It's a
It
choice.
is your decision
Yes.
that you can do this. And that's what I had to decide.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to decide that I'm worth it. And we're in that now where we are worthy.
Yeah.
And we're never told that, but I am. And it's once you start believing that you are worth it, that you are worthy, that you are empowered, nobody can take that away from you.
Mm-mm. because it's your power.
It is your power.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to share that power with people. And that's why I wrote it. That's why I wrote Beautifully Broken. I want to share that power. And I want them to know that it doesn't matter what happened to you. You can grow from it and become a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, wow. And then I think too, you've been told, like, I remember being talked about, criticized, called fat. I mean, like, if I'm all of that, why are you even like, really? You want to talk about me and then you want to abuse me?
Mm-hmm.
And it really does something to you. And I'm thankful for the people who can't understand, who don't know, because it's never happened
Exactly.
to them. I'm very thankful for that. But for the people who have been through it, you understand that manipulation and, the fear that they try to plant in you in order for you to be quiet or think that you asked for it or you deserve it. And I just been reading more about other people's experiences, and it's mind-boggling. It really
It
is.
is.
Hearing their testimonies, reading their books, it's unbelievable what we go through, and we suffer in silence. I had someone come to my house last year and was crying, saying, I can't believe you've been over here suffering in silence. And I was just shaking my head because at that time I was not ready to, I guess, really admit. And I've admitted to the people that follow me, I'm like, y'all got to be patient with me because I'm peeling back the layers. It's not easy. It's never easy. But then when it's certain people, it's really not easy, you know. And so it's just a process. That's all I know. It's a process, but it's worth walking through because I feel free. I feel so free some days that people are like, you sure do have such a glow about you. Well, it's because I refuse to stay where I've been for the past however many years. I'm 51 years old now. So it's like, I'm not living there anymore. Like, that house is empty.
Exactly.
I'm over here on a flight, and I know that I'm on the right flight because things are working out on my behalf, and God has given, people, places, and things is right there in front of you that weren't there before,
Mm-hmm.
but they've always been there. Your vision was cloudy, your perspective was messed up. You didn't think that you deserved it. I didn't think that I deserved it. Now that we're walking in a totally different space,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh shucks, when the next flight? Oh, you want me to come over there and speak? Because I'm waiting on
Exactly.
the person to call me to say, I need you to come and speak at this event. It's like, okay, I'm on my way. That is about to happen. Like, it's already happening right now. Because one of the other ladies before, she was a therapist. She says, I'm definitely sending you an invite to my next like women's conference or something.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, girl, I'm gonna be waiting on the email.
There you go.
Eyes rest to go.
And that's how it should be. We should always be dressed to go in our lives. Nothing should stop that. Not our own thoughts, not things that have happened to us. And I think I even wrote it in my book where I've always wondered, is the person who had it easy really the lucky one? And think about it. Is the person who had it easy really the lucky one?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think so. I don't think so. Because it's a part of life that where we don't want it to happen to us or anyone, but it has and it does. And those of us who have had it happen are able to be there for those going through it.
Mm-hmm. I think what's really messing me up
Okay.
is this also happened last year, if I'm not mistaken. Last year was just a year. I'm so glad it's 2023, and I don't usually be like, oh, I can't wait till next year. But I was seeing on Facebook where apparently someone was molesting the two young children. It was like back to back. It came out, and our town is very small, so it's like, really. And you hear about it, all of a sudden, this wave of negative information, and then it goes away. Like, if an example was truly being made out of these pedophiles, rapists, then you really wouldn't be hearing that much about it because it would decrease. Like we said, it's never going to stop because things go on behind closed doors all the time. It's never going to be a complete end to it. But that's what we're hoping for. We praying that
Yes,
that
we are always.
Yes. But that just bothers me that in this day and age, with cameras everywhere, with Alexa everywhere, with Siri everywhere, that these people are still not even getting a little. I mean, I don't even see that they get a little slap on the hand anymore. Like nothing. And it just did something to me. Like I told you earlier, I'm that person that feels it. And so when I was looking at these babies that, you know, apparently the adults weren't thinking at the time that they just put the baby out there and the person, it did something to me. It did something to me because I'm like, what happened to the hashtag Me Too movement? Because during that time frame, I was coming in calling the people on my job, you know, they offer this where you can call and talk. I have no idea what really triggered me, but it was some lady's testimony during the hashtag Me Too, and it just, and it wasn't, she didn't say anything that I could just be like, oh my God. She just was talking and she was just telling her story. And immediately I had to call in people. I said, I don't know what's going on, but it's like I'm reacting. Maybe it just had become overwhelming because I had never seen so many people coming together saying hashtag Me Too. And you're just looking at it like, and wanting to be a part of it because I wouldn't have to stand alone. People are going to believe me because it's too many people not to. Like, it's too many of us for you to say it didn't happen. And when I tell you, sitting in my offices, and I would hear some of my coworkers say, well, if it happened, what took us so long to say it? Girl, I would just get 38 hot. Like, really? You don't even know how it damages you every day, and what all it takes just to put one foot in front of the other to come in here and put a smile on your face and get your job done. And you're gonna say, what took so long? Like, it was a whole healing process. I felt like a little dark cloud went with me everywhere I went.
Yep.
And not only the dark cloud, I felt like it was just my baby. The monster baby, though, not no sweet, pretty baby, just a ugly. And I would just protect it. Like, now you can't say nothing. You got to be quiet.
Yep.
You know, you got to be quiet.
Yeah.
Now I had to apologize to that little girl. And girl, when I tell you that broke me down, I looked in the mirror. I don't want to cry right now, but when I think about it, I am still that little girl. I might be grown with 2 children and then went to college and have a job and all this kind of stuff with house, car, bills. I got bills. That's what I got. But I'm still, when I look in the mirror and I look into my eyes, it's like I'm still that little girl.
You
And
are.
I had to apologize to her for not protecting her. And I said, I'm so sorry that I didn't protect you then. But girl, I got you now. I'm like, girl, I got you now. They're not about to mess with you now. Wish they would say something kind of cross, because that ain't gonna fly. We have boundaries over here now.
Yes.
And you can't cross them, because if you cross them, you're gonna have to jump right back, because we got snapped back now. Before, you were too young, and you know, that was one thing that we talked about in another live, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, so this is very good that we're talking about this and getting help. But I lost my thought. Something I was about to say.
Looking back and talking to that little girl inside of you.
Yeah, just, she gonna be all right. That's all I know. And
you can't feel bad for not being able to protect her because you didn't know how. And you have to remember that. And the people that say those things, like I just mentioned you, they probably have never had anything happen to them. Or if they did, it was nothing in this area that has happened to us. And that's why I also wonder, it's like people who've not had anything happen, are they really the lucky ones?
some of them can't even remember because they blocked it out too, and they're in denial. Like they're like, "Oh, nothing ever happened to me. Oh, nothing ever happened to my kids. I protect my kids." Like none of us are with our kids 24/7, so you cannot say that. Like the
And that is
kids
true.
go to the bathroom. Too many of them happen in the house. Too many happen right in the house, right under the parents' noses, and it's like, no, you can't. None of us can say that 100%. I have people right now telling me that they did not tell their parent, and their parent is long gone, but they kept it to themselves.
Because we were raised that you don't talk about those things. You don't bring it out. You don't talk about it. We don't get help, and it's hard. And now and some people are like, oh well, you're oversharing. No, not oversharing. Telling you what's real. I'm telling you exactly what has happened. And I'm not the only one this has happened to. And it's time to be heard. And there's no more feeling ashamed, no more feeling regret, no more apologizing because I have to put a protection around myself. And it's coming out and saying, yes, I was abused. I was abused so badly. I would never wish what happened to me on my enemy. But I came out now as to who I am, and I'm a helper and a healer, and I'm there for people, and I will do everything that I can to help someone else. And for those of you listening or coming back, you will live. Not just live, you will survive. And if you take what has happened, you can make something absolutely incredible with it that is going to bless you, and you are going to bless others. You are not what has happened to you. I am not what has happened to me. Miss Selena is not what has happened to her. You are a light. Turn that switch on.
That's true. Yes. So that's Maya. I was just telling you about her. She has the book, The Blood Blocked It.
Thank you. I'm going to look that book up. Nice to see you.
Her oh Lord, her testimony, and she's still creating a testimony. Seem like on a daily basis, it's something new and different happening in all of our lives. But at this point, it's like the daggers are coming, but there's this force field, seems like it around us that's protecting us. Some try to get through and it stings a little bit because you wasn't expecting that dart to come from that person. Like you said earlier, it's the people who we believe who are going to protect us, and those are the ones who tend to hurt us. Yes. And it's unfortunate that people try so hard to figure out who you talking about, who she talking about, what they talking about. That's not the point. Not the who did it, it's the what they did, and how they're so able, I guess, to get away with this over and over and over and over for generations. You know, you hear that, well, you know, you can't fault them because that happened to them. What? Okay, it happened to me. I haven't done anything. People trust me with their children, and I'm not about to touch nobody's baby. I'm not about to physically abuse them, sexually abuse them, but it all happened to me.
Because that's a choice you made. You broke that cycle. Yes. And that's what I say all the time. You have the strength in your body to break that cycle. You don't have to be what has happened to you. You can break it and create a new one.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
So how old is your son now?
22.
Oh, wow. I thought that was a baby in the cold. Well, not a baby. I thought he was like probably around my son's age.
No, he's going into his last year of college now, and he's doing really well. And I think some of the things that keep me going is the fact that my son is proud of me. And he did. When I heard him say that my mom loves those that no one else wants to love, it made me catch my breath. I was like, and he watches and he sees. He doesn't say much, which is okay. But he watches and he sees that I care, and my care is honest and genuine. And I want him to know that he's got that power too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
My oldest child comes back and he says, "Mama, so and so, whoever it was, because he was a soccer coach and an assistant coach, or refereeing and all that kind of stuff in the soccer world." And there was this one kid who was, pretty sad because I think his girlfriend had been abused, and so he has heard me talk about things now because I'm doing my best to be open one layer at a time. And he was there comforting this young man and, trying to encourage him about, my mom has been through that and she's going to be okay. And just helping him help her, tell her to tell somebody. If she wants to come and talk to my mom, I'm like, how you gonna volunteer me? But he know, that's
Yeah.
fine. But even in other conversations that he comes back and shares with me, like people are confiding in him as well. And so it helps him to be more empathetic toward someone that is sharing their story. And it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman or
Mm-hmm.
child, we all matter.
Yes, we
And
do.
yeah, we all matter. And it's not our fault.
That is right. And don't ever forget that. It is not our fault. And the fact is he is. Oh, thank you, Aaron.
Karen.
Your son, he offers you up because he trusts you. And you have to always remember that is when your child offers you up to another child, it's because they trust you and they know that you're going to take care of that child just like you took care of them. And that is something to just breathe in.
Whew. And I did that the other day. I took a breath, and I think we, just as human beings, we take our breaths for granted.
Yes. Oh.
And I took a deep one the other day, and I paid attention to it, just that fresh air and the air just going into my lungs. I mean, that felt so good. I've really been focusing on my breathing even more so now after I don't know why I was in tune with it that particular day. But I was like, Lord, I don't want to take anything for granted.
No.
No.
And don't.
And I'm not. So I just want to say I appreciate you. I thank you for coming. We'll have to do this again. It's you are beautifully broken.
I am. And I'm okay with that because together we make a mosaic.
Yes, we are mosaic, girl, together. I'm beautifully broken. And we're in our healing journey. Like, yes. And no one is here to pretend like they have it all together. You started out saying that you have days that you're hurt. You have days that you feel shame. You have days that you have triggers. But you listen to the music that got you through and you keep it moving.
I do.
Because we're not quitters.
No.
We're not victims.
We're victors.
Yes, we are. All day, every day. Even when it comes against us, we win. And I get on here and I say it all the time. And people might be like, you always say the same thing, girl. I have to remind myself that I win. I have to remind you that you win. We have to remind one another that we got this, regardless of how bumpy the road has been, regardless of how many setbacks we've had. We still win at the end of the day.
And that is the truth. That is the absolute, utter truth.
Well, I know we hopped on a little early, but I tried to, go live right on time. And I thank Samaya for jumping in, putting our intro up for me because I was looking for. I was like, girl, I don't know what I'm doing over here. She knows she be praying for me, but just continue to keep us in your prayers, Miss Kathleen, and
always
keep us up to date if you have another book or if you have an event or you're virtual. So how can we find you if we want to become part of the coaching or anything else that you may have going on?
You can find me on my website, which is kmf-consulting.com, and I can send this all to you. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Facebook, and just send me a message, and I will immediately get back to you. I am on Instagram as your conflict coach. This is what I do. Conflict all day, every day.
Did I put that right?
KMF, yes. And then LinkedIn is always a great way to get through to me. Just send me a message there. And I'm Kathleen Franscona, and the same with Facebook. You'll find me there. Same full name. That's all it is Kathleen Franscona. And yeah. And then you could also email me, which is literally KathleenFranscona@gmail.com. There's only one N in my last name.
Did I get it right?
Kathleen. Nope, there's an N in the beginning. It's Franscona. Take that first N out.
I was typing fast too. Let me see. Edit. Did we have it right on the flyer?
No.
Ooh.
You had an extra N in there. Everybody does it sometimes. Frascona. Kathleen, Frascona. Perfect. @Gmail. Yep. My name.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, girl. I'm going to have to look you up because, listen, we done been through some conflict, but we are victorious, and we're just going to keep on pushing. We're going to keep on encouraging one another. I thank God for the connection.
Yes.
I don't know anybody else in that group. I think one lady I talked to, but we haven't even connected. So you're the only one. And like I said, I think you're the reason that I was in there, and everything happens when it's supposed to. So yeah, it does. And
I'm grateful we met. I really, truly am.
I am too, girl. I've already shared tears with you over the phone. Now I'm on live. I'm supposed to be keeping it. And here I'm like, oh, child, don't get me to talking about my children and how these situations affected me, because it's more than one person in different ways, like for all of us, and some of them hurt differently,
I do.
Yeah. Some of them you're like, you were wrong for doing this, but some of them you're like, you really were wrong for doing this. And so I just have so many testimonies that have come my way, and I'm just thankful for the trust that people have for me. And I know that you feel the same way. So we thank y'all for joining. Be sure to share this video. Kathleen and we're going to be tag teaming, getting together. I'm going to have to go to one of her events, and we'll go live again. But this is not the end. You will see us again.
Definitely. Absolutely. I've got something coming up. So.
Okay. Did you have any last words?
You are you. You are not what anybody has ever said. You are not what happened to you. You are you, and you will always be. You choose how you want to take that and how you want to run with it. And I'm here for you. Miss Celena's there for you. You're not alone, and you never will be.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we are definitely here. Oh, to God be the glory, young ladies. Be encouraged. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, y'all go share a smile.
Absolutely.
And some sunshine. Mwah. See you on the next run, which is Saturday, 7:00 Central Time. All right. Talk to you all later.
Thank you.